What's up, UPSA? I'm Laila. I'm a marketing coordinator for UPSA. Today's topic is delayed gratification, and we're here with PTs.
Moon.
Jason.
For the first question is, are there any tools or apps that can help people improve their ability to delay gratification?
So what I usually use are like lists, and these lists consist of me mentioning like my daily goals and what I want to achieve for an upcoming test or like an assignment, and I keep track of them every day, and I do not put out like little rewards for myself every single day. I just keep one big one by the end of that task, like assignments, as I said, or exams, and that big one kind of makes up for that whole entirety of the duration of when I was, for instance, studying for a test or doing like assignments. So it kind of makes up for that, and it was really helpful to just have like a list or, for instance, like a spreadsheet to just keep track of your goals, your behaviors, like the things that you do every single day. What do you think?
Yeah, I think I totally agree. Having like a sort of calendar or spreadsheet where you sort of keep track of your behavior can help put into perspective who you are and what your habits are. And I feel like once you get a little more insight on your patterns of behavior, then you could ask that question, why am I doing those things? You know, say every time you get stressed, you go and grab yourself a slice of pizza. Ask why. Is it for a reward? Is it for comfort? Is there a deeper reason? And I think once you familiarize yourself with who you are, you could integrate those parts of your psyche into your goals. And I think it's quite important, too, to tailor your goals to who you are. Because if your goals aren't tailored towards who you are, you know, with all your fallibility and talents, it becomes impossible to keep up with them. You know, when you think about dissonance, for example, cognitive dissonance, sometimes your values, who you want to be, contradict what you're actually doing. And if that ends up happening on a day-to-day basis and it turns into a habit, then it becomes easier to, fall astray and you're disappointing yourself. So I think it's important, instead of trying to just flip that person that is you, it's important to look for a more gradual process. And I think, like you said, really trying to build insight into your personality.
I think it's about understanding who you are and how everyone's goals are simply tailored to them. So spreadsheets, logging things down, stuff like that, it can make the gratification, although delayed, all the more worthwhile once it's fully tailored to you. I hope I'm making sense. Yeah. My next question for you guys is, how can someone balance delayed gratification and then still enjoy being in the present moment?
So we tend to think that to delay gratification, to focus on a long-term goal, what we need to do is dismiss, ignore, push aside the present moment and focus on the future, whatever that goal may be. But I think that's actually counterintuitive. I mean, what we find in, I think, one psychology experiment that we're probably all familiar with, the Stanford marshmallow test, which took place in Stanford University in the 70s. And what the researchers did was they placed a marshmallow in front of a kid and said, "I'll be back in 5 minutes. If you're able to resist this marshmallow, I'll give you a second one." And of course, this was a longitudinal study, and they found that the kids that were able to resist their desires, self-control, they ended up doing better on basically all dimensions of life. And I think something that's quite important and to take note, which I think is applicable to our lives, is that these kids, the kids that were able to resist their urge, their impulses, what they did during those 5 minutes was not, focus on the marshmallow and say, I'm just exerting my willpower. Instead, they found something else to do. They found a distraction, a way to live in the present moment, whether that be, singing, playing with their hands, and they made the now valuable, which I think is quite important if you're trying to delay gratification, to make your actions and your behaviors and your goals tailored to what surrounds you.
I agree with that. I feel like appreciating the process of reaching your goals is like important, and being, as you said, like in the present moment.
And next is, how did you guys develop the ability to delay gratification? What's your guys' biggest secret or tips?
I feel like it's a long process to be able to develop the ability of delay gratification, but to be able to put it into your daily life is also important. Just trying to develop it every single day and put it into, for instance, your to-do list. Like, oh, I want to do this today, build a habit. And in that way, you can gradually develop delay gratification. And it's a long process, but I feel like, to me, there is no secret. You just have to try to do it and experience it for yourself. And in that way, you can get the ability of delayed gratification. I feel like, for me, it usually takes time and it takes effort. It's not something easy that you can do.
It's not something that's overnight.
Yeah, it's not something that's overnight. You have to like put it into habit. Like every single day you can just like have a goal for that and try to incorporate it like into your life. And that way, by probably next week or the following month, you can master delayed gratification. What do you think?
Totally agree. I think what works for one person might not work for someone else. So it's really a process of, what do you call it, self-knowledge, which is a process and not a switch you could flip. I think maybe one struggle was, and I think it could be quite disappointing, because once you get into this process, you start to realize that perception is projection. There's an old English saying, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And I think that's quite true, but it also extends to other things, vices, evil. Gratification is in the eye of the beholder. It's all conditioned by who you are, your experiences, your memories, your thoughts, your opinions. And I think keeping track of those things which make up who you are, as disappointing as they may be, you can get into the, I guess you might call it a habit of integrating them into your life. And again, focusing on the present moment.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think staying present is the only way you can move forward, and once you stay present, that's when your answers will align with who you are now. You can only let the past affect you if you choose to, but who you are in the moment and who you decide to be today is what matters the most going forward.
Wise words.
So, have you guys struggled with anything with delayed gratification? Do you guys say it's more of a mental than a physical process to adapt to? What do you guys think?
I feel like something that I have struggled with is discipline, and discipline is something that you need to be able to acquire it through practice. And in that way, when you do acquire it, you can develop the skill of delayed gratification. And it also depends on your mental state. So if you have a fixed mindset or like an open mindset, it really depends on either one. So if you have a fixed mindset, it's really hard to be able to develop delayed gratification, because you're not really open to different like solutions and ways to acquire it. But if you have an open mindset and you're really open to different opinions of others or what others may have to say about delayed gratification, in that way you can really truly acquire the skill of delayed gratification. So it's really hard, to be honest. I'm gonna be honest with you, because it's what you're used to. So if you're used to always being always procrastinating, always doing things last minute, and you really reward yourself every single day, and you don't have that big reward at the end of the task that you have completed, then it's going to be super hard for you to really have that skill. So it's a long process. You need to have discipline. But if you have practiced it, then it's really easy.
I agree. I think your mentality, again, is just super important. And like you said, having an open mindset, in a sense, you kind of have to take it easy on yourself. Don't be too hard, because it's supposed to come naturally. And although pursuing your goals, waking up early to, I don't know, study and cutting down on sleep, for example, can take a toll on your physical. In the end, if you were to do that, it is your mental that is driving your behavior. And so keeping track of your perception and your mentality can help you get through it and complete your goals. I think it's also worth to note that it's unheard of in the mammalian brain to delay gratification. Studies like the cocaine lever for mice in the University of Geneva, where they gave mice the option to hit a lever for a shot of cocaine. And what ended up happening was the mice perpetually, over and over, just kept pressing the lever until they died, until the situation got so bad that they died. And so, well, one can ascribe delayed gratification to the invention of the frontal lobe, and even the frontal lobe can be trained, right? That sense of willpower can be trained. And I think it's worth noting that, again, it's counterintuitive. It's almost against the physical, and it's really just a training of the mental.
I think something that I kind of struggle with delayed gratification is the patience of it all. Sometimes when I don't see results as fast as I want to, I don't think I'm succeeding, or I don't think delayed gratification is working. But I think the whole delayed part kind of means that it's working. And I think at the end of the day, at the beginning, I don't have that patience, but coincidentally, delayed gratification, it helps me gain that patience. And one day I'm going to look back on the journey and be like, that was pretty awesome. And I'm glad it took all the time it truly needed. And for the last question is, do you guys think the reasonings behind delayed gratification is based on Freud's theories and principles?
I think Freud, psychoanalysis in general, definitely touched on gratification, short-term gratification. I would say Freud would just describe that tendency for short-term gratification to the id in his map of the psyche, that irrational, childish drive to eat everything that stands in front of you, buy everything that's shiny, sleep as long as you possibly can. And he would ascribe all of that to the id, and he would say that the ego, that sense of you, the person making the decisions, balancing the superego, that which needs to be done, with the irrational, animalistic desire, needs to be trained. It needs to be trained almost like a muscle in order to resist the id. However, as useful as that theory may be, I think it's probably more useful to look at it, I would say, from a Jungian perspective. And he would say self-control is the master virtue, in the sense that it's self-revelation. It's learning about your internal desires, your internal patterns, your internal drives, and instead of canceling them out, instead of, cutting the vine out from your life completely, integrating it, realizing why that habit is a habit. And once you find out that why, well, maybe you can fulfill that desire, fulfill that reason with a behavior that's more productive.
I do agree. I feel like delayed gratification would refer to like the secondary process, which like includes like a reality oriented approach, as opposed to like the diffuse and chaotic primary processes. Yeah.
That was awesome. Thank you guys for watching What's Upsa. Tune in to next month's podcast where the marketing team talks about experiences of upper year students. Bye, guys.
I think editing is going to carry.